Can I hear? Can me
Power off.
Let's see, let's go back. Hey guys, so if there's anybody here, can you type in the chat box if you can hear me? Hi Kim, can you hear me? Yay! Okay, perfect. We'll start here. I'm gonna give more people some time to join because sometimes people join a little late, so bear with me here. Are you having a good day, Kim? I don't know how the weather is by you, but we're having a sunny day here in Michigan. It's not gray and cloudy and snowing. Give it a couple more minutes, see if more people join, and then we'll just get started and people can join as we're going through. Ooh, Vegas, very cool. I've never been to Vegas. It's on my list of things to do though, that's for sure. Mhm. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and just get started here because we have a limited amount of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and minimize the chat for now. I'll check it periodically throughout the presentation here. It shouldn't take too long, and then I'll do a quick Q&A section or session at the end if anybody has any questions. And then I also have a fun surprise for everyone. So let's get started. So welcome to the 6 things that tricksters need to manage their hair pulling urges with me, Carrotney. So today we're going to be doing I'm going to talk about what trichotillomania is, the importance of mindset, knowing your triggers, why tracking is important, why you need acceptance, urge management tools, support, and then we'll have the surprise, and then we'll do a Q&A session. So the importance of mindsets, knowing your triggers, tracking, acceptance, urge management tools, support are the 6 things that we are going to talk about today. So I'm going to go into more details about that. But before I do, I just want to make sure that you guys know where the chat box is. I know Kim already found it. And if you have any questions, you can post them into that chat box, and then I'll go through and see what's going on and what you guys have posted in there at the end, and I'll answer any questions. So let's jump right in here. So first of all, what the heck is trichotillomania? To put it simply, it's a compulsive hair pulling disorder. It's commonly referred to as trick by those who are diagnosed with it, and we commonly call ourselves tricksters, which is why that's the name of the presentation here. And it's sorry, this is actually supposed to say it is not related to OCD, but it is categorized with other impulse control behaviors such as skin picking and nail biting. Those are called body focused repetitive behaviors, which are commonly referred to as the BFRBs. Um, so, skin picking is dermatillomania, nail biting is on or something like that. Um, and they're technically so a BFRB is any sort of compulsive behavior that does physical damage. So like the hair pulling, you get physical damage from um you know you're pulling, so you get the bald spots and the thinning of hair. Maybe you're missing some eyelashes, your eyebrows. Picking is damaged because some people get it to the point where they start bleeding, and then you have to deal with scabs and avoiding infections and stuff like that. Nail biting can be a similar situation. Some people pick around at their nails. Like I'm a big one of pick around the skin at my nails, um, and so those are called body focused repetitive behaviors. BFRBs is commonly what I'm going to refer to them as. So if you hear me say that, that is what I'm talking about. Okay, so who am I? Who is Carrotney? Um, my real name is Courtney, but Carrotney has been my nickname since I was a freshman in high school, and it's just kind of stuck with me. And now everyone just calls me Carrots. So that is how you can respond to me and get my attention. Whoops. So, a little bit about me. I have had trichotillomania for 17 years, going on almost 18, I think. And as a trickster, I am on a mission to help other tricksters just like you realize that you're not alone and that your trick is manageable. It started 17 years ago with my eyelashes, and then I think what triggered that was my mother getting remarried to a man that I didn't really appreciate at the time. And so it started with my eyelashes, and then by the time I was in high school, I transitioned to pulling from only my scalp. I no longer pull from my lashes. And by the time I graduated high school, didn't have any hair on the top of the scalp of my head. Um, I went about 7 years with having hardly any pulling, and then I got divorced, and that triggered my trick to be the worst that it has ever been. I was so frustrated with myself and couldn't like, I knew what was happening, I knew why, I knew that it had to do with all the emotions I was going through my divorce, but I was frustrated with the fact that I couldn't stop myself from pulling. I knew there had to be another way for me to deal with those emotions, and pulling isn't the way that I wanted to go about it. So it all changed for me when I found mindfulness. Mindfulness has been the absolute best thing that has ever happened to me, not just for my trick, but just for my life in general. I have a completely different outlook on how I see myself, the people around me, and the entire world. I have a much better appreciation for everything, and there's I mindfulness is something that I will never give up on now that I've found it. Mindfulness, a huge part of mindfulness for me was the acceptance. It taught me how to accept my trick as a part of me. And since then, I have a much more positive outlook on my trichotillomania. And I've also been able to find great support. Um, I've created a community that's a safe place for tricksters to encourage one another, talk about their feelings. One of the best things about having support is you get to talk to people who truly understand you because they're going through the same thing as you. And it's for a lot of people, they think that they're going through this alone, and to have that support and find that there are other people who are just like you is such a relief, and it's so freeing, and it helps you feel like you can openly talk about it. Um, so the mindfulness and acceptance and support all were part of the things that helped me start managing my trichotillomania, and they are some of the 6 things that we're gonna talk about today. So let's jump right in. The first thing on the 6 things that tricksters need to manage is growth mindset. So there are 2 types of mindset. The first one would be a fixed mindset, and that is someone who believes that their talents or qualities are fixed, and so to them that can their talents cannot change. They're just born that way. They're never going to learn new talents. They're never going to um you know have different personalities, anything like that. And then a growth mindset is the opposite. So it's someone who thinks that you gain your talents or your qualities by growing through your experience and effort and putting that time in to learn new skills and continue to grow. So we want to avoid a fixed mindset because that holds us back and it creates limiting beliefs, which add to bringing down your self-esteem and your confidence, and increasing anxiety because you're worrying about things that may or may not happen. Growth mindset brings positive change. So what I mean by that is it helps you see change as an opportunity instead of a setback. And when you start seeing change as an opportunity, that's when you start seeing that it's you already have the capability to face these changes head on, and you're going to come out strong on the other side. So number 2, knowing your triggers. So a lot of people think that the most common trigger is stress and anxiety, which is true. Stress and anxiety are typically associated with trichotillomania, but they are not the only triggers. You have many different types of triggers. We have sensory, which for people with BFRBs, that typically would include your touch and sight, because if you a lot of us will search for rough coarse hairs, or for me, seeing the gray hairs, that's a big trigger for me. Feeling a bump on my skin makes me want to remove it, and I know that by picking at it I'm making it worse, but in a way I feel like I'm making it better. um, Internal triggers or cues would be like emotions, and now those can be negative or positive emotions. So stress and anxiety are obviously negative, but you also excitement is a big trigger for me. When I'm super excited about something, it stimulates me, and it what makes me want to pull more. Also external cues, which would be like your environment or activities. So for a lot of us, going into the bathroom where there's a mirror, that's a big trigger for a lot of us. A lot of BFRBers see the mirror as an enemy, and that's one of the things that um, one of the next things, or one of the next steps that I think tricksters need ties into. But as far as environment, so like maybe your bed, anytime you're in bed watching TV, when you're at work, when driving is a big one. And then perfectionism. We have to learn to accept the imperfect. Our hair is every little strand of hair that we have is meant to be different. Um, you know, you everyone has bumps on their skin. Um, it doesn't make you who you are. So it's fine if they're there. Um, and knowing your triggers is the first step to sorry, I just got confused on my iPad here. Okay, so knowing your triggers is the first step to starting to see the results that you've been striving for. We can't expect something to change if we don't know what about it needs to change. So that's why we need to know our triggers. So you can start trying to manage your stress, but if stress isn't a big trigger for you and you're actually being triggered by, say, boredom, then you're not necessarily going to see the results that you're looking for because you're trying to solve the wrong problem. And then number 3 would be tracking behaviors. So I'm sure that many of you have heard about tracking, but tracking is important because it helps you stay focused and it identifies potential obstacles. So, um, whoops, I keep forgetting when I click on something, it makes it go. Okay, so tracking helps you stay focused and identify potential obstacles, which helps you as far as identifying your triggers and knowing what you need to focus on as far as your goals, which leads me into number 2 here. Goal setting is a huge part of tracking. So you can track your progress all you want, but if you don't know what you're aiming for with your progress, you're not going to feel motivated to continue tracking. Um, so, one of the things I want you guys to know is when it comes to setting your goals, we have to remember to keep them positive and moving us forward, as well as remaining realistic. We don't want to set goals that we can't reach yet. So, what I mean by that is, you know, yes, the ultimate goal is to manage your polling or picking, but we have to start with smaller goals. So our first goal would be, say, figuring out what your top 3 triggers might be, or, um, 3 new methods of managing your urges that you've never tried before, which we'll get into that later on, don't worry. Um, moving on to number 3, keeping track of your behavior shows you the progress that you've made, and the progress, seeing your progress is one of the things that keeps you moving forward because you see where you started and how far you've come since then. And also tracking your behaviors just gives you a good idea of your starting point. So you'll know where you're starting now, what you're going to do moving forward. So the next thing, oh, hold on, let me see. First of all, do any of you have any questions? I know I'm moving pretty quick here, but I do have very limited amount of time to do this presentation. So, um, and I want to make sure that we get through everything. So if you guys have any questions, you can put them into the chat box and I will answer them. Can take a quick break. I'm going to actually take a sip of some water here real quick. So if you have a question, you can type it in there and I will answer it for you in a second. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions coming through, so we will keep on moving along here. Okay, so number 4 is acceptance. And this one is one that I think is very important because acceptance helps eliminate the shame that is associated with trichotillomania or any other BFRB. Since we, oops, it's going every which way on me here. Okay, so acceptance helps eliminate the shame because as you so the shame comes from mostly and it's internalized because we think that everyone has these opinions of us and we don't want to deal with the humiliation of going out in public and people seeing the bald spots or the um, scabs and red spots all over your skin. So by learning to accept your trichotillomania as a part of you, you then begin to break this shame spiral. So if you don't know what this shame spiral is, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a never-ending cycle. So as for far as BFRB goes, I'm going to use the trichotillomania as the example because that's what I have dealt with the most. Um, So it would start with pulling, and then the pulling leads to shame because of the bald spots or the thinning hair or just finding the hair all over the place, which then increases your anxiety, which then leads you to more pulling, and then it just starts all over again. Then you get more you have to deal with the shame, and then you have the increased anxiety. So acceptance is huge because when you no longer have to deal with the shame and you are just more confident in your own skin, you don't care about the opinions of others as much. So you're not worried about the, say, humiliation that goes along with it. Which is how where mindfulness comes into play here. So mindfulness is a great tool for me. It's one of my number one tools that I use, but it teaches you how to respond with kindness and self-compassion. So when you're one of the things that a lot of tricksters have is also depression and anxiety, which can be very, um, it can cause a lot of negative thoughts. And when you speak to yourself kindly and with compassion, you it's like an automatic thing in your brain to trigger more positive thoughts because you're not being so hard on yourself all the time, which also allows for more acceptance. And so some of the things that I will tell myself to increase my acceptance or continue my acceptance and grow my mind is my trick does not define me. Your trick does not define you. It is not a weakness, and it is most definitely not your fault. That is another big one for a lot of tricksters is we blame ourselves because we're the ones causing the harm. It is technically a self harm that you're doing, and um because a lot of us we don't know why we can't stop. We don't know why we're even doing the behavior in the first place, so we think it's all on us when really it's not. It is not your fault, and there is no reason to feel guilty about it. Again, it does not define you. You are more than your trick. It is just a part of who you are. It makes you whole. I feel like we skipped something here. So that brings me on to number 5, which would be urge management tools. So what I mean by that is we have to replace our negative behaviors, which in this case would be hair pulling, with a new positive behavior. An example is fidgets. Now I'm going to go into a whole bunch of different examples here in a second, but so it's also habit reversal is a another one that so habit reversal is another way of saying urge management tools. There is habit reversal therapy that you can do, which would basically it's helping you implement these new behaviors into your routine so that they start to just become like your new habit instead of going to pull hair from your scalp, you'll reach for your new fidget that you're using. So some examples of fidgets. Now this page here, if you would like a copy of it, you can take a screenshot of it if you're on your phone or iPad or something, or even on your computer. You can do that really quick without exiting the actual meeting here. Or you can also let me know in the chat box, or I can email it to you if you would like a copy of it. So some examples of tools that you can use as far as managing your urges are acupressure rings. If you don't know what those are, they basically look like spiky kind of rings, but they're not spiky. They actually feel really good on your skin, and it helps with your, in the same way that acupressure would work, it gets your pressure points, which helps relieve any emotions that are building up inside of you or feelings that are building up inside of you, which are triggering your urges. Cush balls are one of my favorites because you can pull at the strings and they don't break. And you can spin it around, and there's all kinds of fun things you can do with those. Squish toys. I have a whole bunch of cute little funny fuzzy animals that I have. Tangles are these things down here. These things are addicting just because the constant, I don't, just the movement of them. Dough or scented putty. I have a lot of lavender scented putty because that's associated with calming. Scalp massager is something that I have had for a long time and forgot that I had one, and I found it not that long ago. I was so excited when I found it because the scalp massager is great just for one, it when you massage your scalp, you stimulate growth. So if you have any hair loss, um, just by massaging it, you're stimulating growth. And the scalp massager also helps with the sensations that are associated with why we pull. Um, a lot of people wear band-aids on their fingers. I've heard some people say they really like liquid band-aids because they are, you can get those invisible ones, and so you can still do things without having the restrictions from the actual band-aids. I'm a fan of medical tape because sometimes I don't think the liquid band-aids is enough to remove the sensation of like, or the feeling of the hair, so I can still pull it. Where medical tape is still thick enough to where I can't really feel the individual hairs, and which therefore it makes me not want to pull. And I can't pick at my skin. And with what I like about medical tape is it's not as, it's works better, but it doesn't leave the sticky residue like Band-Aids do, and you can still use anything with the touch screen. So a big thing for me is I pull at night a lot when I'm laying down. So I sleep with the medical tape on my fingers, and I'll usually be like, playing a game on my phone until I fall asleep, or, reading through emails or something. And so it's helpful for me to be able to use my phone and be able to manage my pulling at the same time. Some people will put coconut oil or Vaseline on their eyelashes or eyebrows to make it hard for them to pull it because the oil makes it to where you just can't get a grip on it. A lot of people wear gloves or hats. Gloves I don't like to use because they make me overheat too much. But some people love to sleep with gloves because for them that it's like a signal to the brain that they don't need to be pulling. A hair topper or a wig are big ones. I wear a hair topper, which is basically like a half of a wig. It's literally just covers the scalp of your head. And it's easier. The reason I like hair toppers over wigs is for me, I find it easier to blend in with my natural hair. Um, and it just looks more realistic to me. Um, and that's also somehow I was just saying with gloves, it can become a big problem. Um, sorry, no, not a problem. The gloves are trigger to the brain that you don't need to be doing those things. Um, Finger guards, headscarves, headbands, stress balls, magnetic balls are really fun, fidget cubes or pads. Pens and pencils are fun because you can twirl them in between your fingers, or pens, especially pens that click. Sound that is were similar to ASMR. Knitting or crocheting are popular for a lot of people because it's so calming and it keeps your hands busy. You can just throw some music on or turn on your favorite Netflix show and, you know, knit while you're watching the show. Coloring is one of my favorites. I'm big into adult coloring books. I get to, you know, get in touch with my creativity. I'm a very creative person, so that also helps me. It just keeps me calm and helps me focus on nothing. It's very it's sort of like a meditation for me. I also highly recommend fuzzy soft pillows or blankets or puffball keychain because you can pull at the fuzz. I have a fuzzy pillow that I sleep with, and I'll sleep with it on my head where I tend to pull from, so that I can it pull at the pillow instead of my hair. I also have textured phone cases, which are a huge help for me because when I'm holding my phone, instead of feeling the need to keep my fingers busy by twirling my hair, it's just right there on my phone that I'm already holding. Um, if you live somewhere where they have Five Below, I got the one that I have on my phone now from there, and they had a couple different styles last time I was there. Or I've also, you can check Amazon. Um, Amazon has everything. Anything on this list is most likely on Amazon. um, Also, playing games on your phone, especially games that require you to hold your phone with two hands. So I have some games that like I have to hold my phone sideways, and in order to play, I have to, hold it with two hands. So both of my hands are busy. I'm not holding my phone with one hand and pulling or picking with the other. Um, Meditation or worry rings, which are the rings that are pictured here, they're basically spinner rings, but they come with, different types of things that spin. Like some of them will have little beads on them, some of them, the actual ring itself spins, some of them have different textures to them. There's all different kinds, and there's tons of them on Etsy by people who make them. So I highly recommend, if you're gonna do one, check out Etsy, because let's support all the small business owners. Um, you can pet your dog or your cat. Yoga, exercise are a big one, because it's a great way to eliminate stress. Writing, painting, um, reading, journaling, dancing. I love to dance it out. If I'm having a really stressful day, I will dance out, I have a dance playlist, and I'll put on, just let it play, and I'll dance out for as long as I need to. Or even just like going in my car and driving, just listening to music as loud as I want. Especially when it's a nice day and the sun's out and I can have the windows down. Meditation and mindfulness are obviously a big one for me. EFT tapping, if you've never heard of that, that is similar to acupressure in a way, but it's literally just tapping. You tap on your pressure points. If you are interested in that, I can recommend someone who I know is very good at tapping, and she herself had trichotillomania, and she actually claims that tapping has cured her trichotillomania. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a cure, but if a cure is something that you think is something that you're looking for, I highly recommend looking into tapping. You can email me for that, or message me on Instagram or whatever, and I can get you in touch with her. So as far as when it comes to tools, it's basically anything that keeps your hands busy, keeps you distracted and focused on anything that is not pulling or picking. And you can just give it a try and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, there are plenty of other things that you can try. Um, if you have anything that you use yourself um, that's not on this list, let me know in the chat box here. And I love hearing the new suggestions that people have. Everyone has their own little thing that works for them, and I love hearing what people have to say. So if you have any tips or comments that you want to make as far as what you use, go ahead and throw it in the chat box here for everyone to see. One thing about the chat box is, forgot to talk about this at the beginning. You want to make sure when you're in the chat box, you have this little drop down sending it to everyone in the meeting. Because otherwise you might just be sending it to yourself. Whoops, let's see, what am I doing here? Okay, so on to the last thing, which is support. And I think support is the most important one out of all of the 6 things on this list. Having a solid support system is what gives you the accountability that keeps you moving forward and staying on track. Support helps you achieve your goals because you have encouragement and the good influence working on your side. And then you also just have the people who just relate to you, and you can finally talk about it openly. Also, because you have people who are encouraging you and supporting you, you don't want to let them down. And that motivates you and keeps you moving forward. And one of my favorite things, and if you haven't heard me say it, this won't be your last time hearing me say it. Together, we are the strong. This is not something that anyone has to do alone. And when you have a support system, you just feel so empowered and confident in what you can do, and your capabilities can just, you see how many capabilities you really have. And it also, you no longer have to feel lonely, and that's a big thing for a lot of um tricksters. So this quick recap here: the 6 things that we went over were growth mindset, knowing your triggers, tracking behaviors, acceptance of your trichotillomania, urge management tools or habit reversal techniques, and support. Um, if you joined halfway through here, don't worry. I'm going to be sending you a replay later, and you'll be more than welcome to watch it as many times as you need, take additional notes, ask any questions, all of that fun stuff. Or you can take a screenshot of this page here. So now it's time for my surprise, which I am so excited. I finally get to announce this to everyone. I am introducing the Kick Trick system, which is an urge management program. And this is what the Kick Trick system is. So it's actually a full 12-week program. You can purchase just the 6-week course here. So with throughout the kick trick system, it actually is going to cover all of the 6 things that we just went over. So the 6-week course will include, you have unlimited access to me via Slack, which is like a chat service, and you can access me through emails, and I'll also be doing the presentations weekly with you. And you'll also have access to me with your tracking journal that will be involved with this as well. So, excuse me, for week 1, we'll go through the course and we'll start understanding our BFRBs, identifying triggers, understanding mindset and mindfulness. By week 3, we introduce your tracking journal and dive deeper into mindfulness in your BFRB. And then for week 4 and 5, we'll focus on the different um, management tools that you can use, and we'll start slowly implementing those into your goals that you're setting. And then at week 6, we'll be basically a big recap, and we'll set you up for success beyond the course, especially for those of you who choose to do only the 6-week course. And this will begin on Monday, February 7th. So it's about 3 weeks away from today. Um, Now, for the full week program, you get everything in the 6-week. It says here, yes, even the bonuses, but I put them all down here, so you can ignore that. But so for the full week program, you have the 6-week course, and then after those 6 weeks, that's when the one-on-one support with me comes in. So each week, at the beginning of the week, we'll do a personal call or video chat where we'll set your goals. We'll go over what you've your tracking journal, and we'll adjust anything that we need to adjust. The adjusting will be all based on your personal, what you think is best for you. And then we'll also have the group support, which will be a weekly live, which I'll do through the private Facebook group that I'm going to create for the program here. And that's where you'll be able to discuss any struggles you're having or the progress. You can ask for feedback on the progress you're making. We'll always be encouraging, and this is where you're going to have the ability to find those that you can truly relate to, and finally start having all those things working for you. um, and then you're going to get some bonuses. So bonus 1 is a how-to guide about how to tell your family and friends about your about your trichotillomania, and just steps that you can take to prepare for when you finally do come out to those who are close to you that don't know about it. Bonus number 2 is dealing with the shame. It's an ebook that I've put a lot of time and effort into, all about dealing with shame and how to overcome it. Number 3 is, so when you sign up for the course, you're automatically going to get a PDF version of the tracking journal. And if you want a physical copy of the tracking journal, we'll give you a coupon code that you can use to get it for free, and then it'll be shipped out to you, and you'll hopefully be able to get that in time before we need to use the tracking journal. Um, And then the biggest part, the biggest bonus here is you get an additional 30 days of support after this course. So after the 12-week program and all of the one-on-one and group support, you'll be moved into a different Facebook group, which will be basically, because this program is something I offer, every like 16 weeks or so. So um, you'll be added to a Facebook group that has people who have gone through the program before, and even more support will be given. You have more access to more people, and you'll have access to me. So within those 30 days, you will continue to have access to me via Slack, Messenger, or email. I will, if you want, you can also choose to have um, live one-on-one calls, but I'm not sure if that's something I'm going to do additional charges for or not. That will depend on how many people um, join the program. So today, the special surprise that I have for you as far as the Kick Trick system is if you sign up from the webinar, you get to save $100 off the cost. So as you can see here, it's actually over $1,000 altogether, but I'm originally giving a 55% discount. You are getting an additional discount, so you only have to pay $489. Now, before I go any further, this is an application only program. So you have to fill out the application, and then I will go through all the applications and pick who I feel can will complete the whole program and really needs it the most. Um, payments payment plans is what I'm sorry, it's supposed to say payment plans will be available. If especially if you're doing it through the webinar, I'm not going to charge anything extra if you have to make payments. It's probably going to be, you can do either full payment upfront, um, or I'll break it down into 2 or 3 months and then possibly 6 months, depending on what people are asking for once you apply. So within the application form, you can put if you will be needing a payment plan, and I can break down the options for you. So I'm going to get the link here for you to sign up and put it in the chat here. Yes, stroking, squeezing stuffed animals is a good one. That's kind of goes along with the idea of petting your dog or your cat. If you don't have a dog or cat, um, just petting, or like if you have a really soft blanket, having soft blankets that you can pet. Sherpa is like a really big thing right now, and the Sherpa blankets I love because you can rub them and you can still like pull at them, and it typically doesn't pull out. So there you go. So the link for the sign up is in the chat there. I'm also going to send it to you guys in an email with the replay. So I will be taking applications up until the day before, um, but you have to let me know that you were at the webinar to get the pricing. Um, Obviously, if you are submitting your form today, it will go straight to me, and I will know based on the date that you submitted the application that you were here for the webinar. But you can put a note on there if you want as well, just to make sure that I don't miss it. And if you are chosen for the program, I will be contacting you directly and going from there as what's next. So if anybody has any questions, I'll stick around here for maybe another minute or two and answer any questions you have. If you don't want to ask them in the chat, you can email me. I'll also put my email address in here for anybody who has questions but wants to talk more on a personal level here. No questions, guys? My daughter wants to know how you stop pulling. She pulls her eyelashes and eyebrows. So, I It's basically a combination of all the things that we just went over. Obviously, like I was saying earlier, mindfulness is a huge one for me as far as controlling it. Use mindfulness to accept my trick and talk kindly to myself, and also, just keeping my confidence up and helping me appreciate things more. I use a lot of, um, if you want, you can email me and I will send you. I have a video that I have of all of the urge management tools that I personally use, such as like the acupressure rings. I have this thing called a mosey that I use on my arm. That's really cool. I don't know how old your daughter is, but she might really love it. Um all the kids love my mosey. Um Also, finger guards are a big one for me, medical tape. It all basically comes down to patience and time and effort that you're willing to put into it. And another thing that mindfulness helps me with is my awareness. So just being more aware of the fact that I am pulling or picking. I have absolutely no idea how I stopped pulling my eyelashes. I don't remember choosing to even start choose or pulling at them. Um, but I think what happened is I found that I got a better sensation or relief from pulling from my scalp, and there's so my brain has recognized that going to my eyelashes doesn't give me that same sensation that I'm looking for, so it's not I don't need to do that. Does that answer your question, um, Kim? She's 12. Oh, yeah, she'll definitely love the mosey. Um, so if you want, you can email me at the email address there, and then I will get back to you later once I get all this wrapped up here. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I gotta move on to the next thing here. But you guys have been great. Thank you, Kim, for participating here in the chat box. And hopefully your daughter will have some luck here. And hopefully I'll see some of your application forms. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. If you're watching the Super Bowl, I hope the team you're rooting for wins. And have a good day.